I have my dad, too.
Take it when she's napping.
What?
Take it when she's napping.
Well, Lana, I bought some more apartments.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. In the hospital, when I was in the hospital today, they were operating. My mind went blank, I guess.
You forgot how much work it is to have those apartments?
No, my wife says, say what?
Okay, the clock says 7:30, so we'll call the meeting to order. I'd like to have everyone rise and face the flag. We'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
We'll pick it up.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, hopefully you've all read the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
I so move.
I'll second.
Second. Any further questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public comments. We have a couple of gentlemen with us here this morning. Do we have any discussions? Nothing? Okay. We'll move on. Update from Lana Duvall, President.
Good morning. They're working on getting you some screens, so you just have to listen really carefully instead. All right, so Prospect 724-4, we hosted an out-of-area developer interested in doing some commercial and potentially even some multifamily, which would be wonderful. 724-3, we met with potential entertainment sector prospect to identify some potential sites and development tools, and we have a follow-up meeting scheduled with them for tomorrow. Prospect 724-2, we proposed some sites for an industrial client. The client explored 2 of the sites that we submitted to them, and they have submitted a letter of interest on one of those sites now. And then Prospect 724, so 4 new prospects in July. 724, we provided multiple sites for consideration by an industrial project and awaiting some additional utility and workforce requirements for them. 524 is a prospect that has some pretty significant utility needs. We've facilitated discussions with some utility partners in the region and identified a couple of potential sites. We have a follow-up call with that project on Friday morning. Seeing how many of these have some updates. Prospect 823-2, this was the Frito-Lay warehouse, and we can now say what it was. So their construction is completed, and they are occupying their building. So I went out and toured it primary day, I guess, so the first week of August, and it's a very, very nice building. They did a really nice job on it.
Get a free bag of Fritos or anything?
I didn't, yeah, rude, right? There was nothing in the building at the time that I was there, so I'll assume that's why they didn't give me any freebies. Prospect 823-1, this is also an entertainment prospect, and we've had some follow-up meetings with them and their attorney, and we're working now with the city to get their development agreement put together, as well as a couple of development tools that they'll be utilizing. And Randall Estates has gotten authority to move forward with their project, so we should see some houses start going up out there soon, we certainly hope. Hunter's Glen is working on the next phase of development. They've brought in another development partner to work on some of that, so we'll see how quickly they're able to move forward with that. And a very busy August. We've had a lot of a lot of good discussions, a lot of meetings. Helped with the USD 457 new teacher tours, which was very cool. They had 3 busloads, the large activity buses, full of new teachers, and I got to lead the tour on one of those buses, so very exciting to see them. A lot of people, most of them on my bus, had never been to Garden City before they accepted this position, so that was pretty cool. But it was fun to tour with them and kind of get their view of how the community looks from somebody brand new.
Did they ask questions? Or?
They asked great questions. Yeah, they did. We had an amazing bus driver. She was just really wonderful, and it had some good history to share with them as well. So that was pretty neat. But yeah, it was really interesting. La Junta, Colorado, had me out to be their keynote speaker for their annual chamber banquet at the end of July. And they had a really good crowd. I was a little surprised. La Junta isn't that big, but they had a very good crowd and had excellent questions. It was really interesting. I asked how many of them had been to Garden City ever, and everybody had, and then asked how many had been there in the past year. Most of them in the past month. Over half of them. Yeah. And in talking with some of them afterwards, they said, yeah, we just prefer to go to Garden City for our shopping. We don't want to go fight the crowds and traffic to go to Colorado Springs or Denver, and Pueblo just doesn't do us for us, so we'd rather come to Garden
'Cause
City.
they'd be closer to them.
Yeah, very, very much so.
That verifies what your statistics show.
It does. It's fun when we get to say, Shannon, you were right. Yeah. So very cool stuff. We did have a 5th week meeting where we talked about workforce and higher education. We continue to have really good conversations around higher education and hope to have some new and exciting stuff happening within the next month. Been working with Dream First Bank on a Veterans Memorial, and this started several years ago. I had been approached by the American Legion and the Vets for Veterans asking for a Veterans Memorial to be considered somewhere in the community, and it just lined up with Dream First announcing that they wanted to do their new development. So in those early discussions with Dream First, we asked them if they would set aside space as part of their green space requirements for a memorial garden type space, and they were more than happy to do so. So now we're moving forward with where that will be specifically in the development and what it will look like. So we had a meeting on it about 2 weeks ago. Derek from the city and Matt Bennett and myself are working on that. And then yesterday we had a follow-up discussion with some pretty cool design folks. So hopefully we'll be able to get something moving there pretty quickly. We did do a walkthrough of an existing building that a gentleman was looking at redeveloping into housing. Not sure if we'll be able to get that project to the finish line, but his banker and he came and walked through with us, and we had the fire marshal and folks from the city there to look at it with us, and Steve. So, Tax Abatement Review Committee. We had 2 tax abatements for review yesterday. Stuart did a bang-up job running his first tax abatement committee meeting. So those both were suggested by the taxing entities for approval. So we'll take those to the County Commission at their September 16th meeting. And September stuff we have going on, I have CREDA, Western Kansas Rural Economic Development Alliance, next week in Phillipsburg. Ooh. That's a drive. And we are hosting our legislative forum at that quarterly meeting. So I'll be the moderator for the legislative forum, and then been invited to attend the State of Our University event at Kansas State. So I'll do that September 11th. And I think that's all I have for you. Happy to answer any questions you have.
Questions? Okay, we'll move on. Next, we'll hear from Steve Cottrell, Special Projects Director.
If I could sneeze. Should be one more time, so I'll apologize in advance. Okay, it's National Cherry Turnover Day.
Sweet.
Something very near and dear to Vicki and Lana is Red Wine Day.
Oh,
Yeah, it is.
I like the song.
And it's National Bow Tie Day.
So where's your bow tie?
Yeah.
I figured you'd be wearing it.
Not since I was about 8 and under duress. And for whatever this means, it's National Sport Sampling Day.
Sports.
So I don't know if you do a little bit of all kinds of sports or if you watch a little bit of all kinds, and I don't know. I guess that's what ESPN's doing. Okay. On the industrial side, we had one RFP come out of KUC, but that prospect needed like 100,000 square foot buildings. We just leased the last one, had to turn them down. We received word on 2 of our previous KUC submittals. One of them was completely canceled, and another had rejected all submittals from Kansas, however many that was, besides ours, I don't know. So it's always nice to get word one way or the other. I appreciated hearing from both of those. On the commercial side, continued working on commercial development concepts. Maverick is under construction at Western Kansas Corridor and on East Mary Street, just off of the bypass. As Lana mentioned, Frito-Lay has started operations in their building at the corridor, and I confirmed that because there were trucks parked there one day. Met with a potential restaurant franchisee. Hope to hear back from him. And working on a new commercial building owner on a CID. Residential side, continue working on concepts for multifamily. Did a concept for a tract in Holcomb and another one out in the county. I mentioned infrastructure, Randall Estates is good in there, or completed, waiting final acceptance by county commission. But can start on housing construction. So, I think that's it.
I'm going to ask you a question on the track in Holcomb. Is this the one east of where I live? I don't know that together.
It is.
It is?
Yeah.
Do we as the city need to bring it into the city to start working on that?
If the landowner requests annexation, yeah.
If he would.
I think they're wanting city services is our understanding, so
Okay.
they will likely ask for annexation. And,
Okay.
and that we've given Robin everything she needs to get it approved by Department of
I don't know.
Commerce.
I'm having a meeting tonight. I don't know if she'll be there anymore. I mean,
Yeah,
we have the new guy.
yeah. I had a property valuation person in yesterday who was working on an estate valuation, and she had just spoken with Robin, so
Okay.
Robin was at the city office yesterday.
Okay. Oh, she was. All right.
Or on the phone, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions for Steve? Thank you.
The bridge looks cool.
Yeah, we went out and checked it out.
We
Good.
checked it out.
We checked
When's it supposed to open?
the bridge.
End of the year.
I think by the end of the year.
That's what they said.
It's a beaut.
Yeah.
Good. All right, next up, Scott Ost, Communications Director.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This past month was pretty average. It was pretty similar to last month. Some of the top things on the website included Western Kansas Community Foundation grants, several different school starting information stuff, and a report from the college about admissions and enrollment information for Kansas community colleges. Facebook was slightly down this month. Some of the things that people were drawn to was kind of a smorgasbord, I guess, of things. There's been there, ate that at the airport, empirical accepting applications. Sports in Kansas posted about the Garden City High School's football team, 1999 state champs. And there was a post about Grant County's library volunteers being recognized for their work over the summer. Twitter, I went ahead and bit the bullet and bought analytics for it. So we had 91 impressions, which is down compared to what it was a couple of months ago or 3 months ago whenever they switched out. So, but it was up about 40% compared to the previous month. That's about all that I have for social media, unless somebody has questions about any of this.
Any other questions for Scott? Thank you, Scott. Okay, next up, Grant Lindenberger, Business Development.
Good morning. I've got client 6241. This client's made a lot of progress. They're continuing to talk with their franchisor. They've got an extensive document that's helping them with their business plan, plugging in financials. And for now, we're still continuing to schedule meetings to help complete their business plan. Client 7241. This client's looking to create multi-use entertainment business, generally geared towards younger audience, but a lot of focus on all ages. Has a preferred location in mind, wants to be the general manager. Their ultimate need will be financing, and for now we're going to continue to have scheduled meetings to get their business plan worked out. Client 7243, restaurant. This is a quick service. They're in contact with their franchisors. They're moving forward. They're currently looking to see if they can get a CID for the business, and that's where we're at with that. Client 8241, this client has been operating a pop-up shop. They reached out for clarification on taxes regarding their style of business. I gathered the relevant information for them and got that to them. Client 8242, this client has an existing business in Deerfield. They're needing help with financing, primarily on their inventory. Client 8243, this is food service. This client has an existing restaurant. They are in the process of trying to open a new concept, and we talked with this client to explore ideas and help discuss possibilities for refinancing and locations. And that is what I have.
What is a pop-up shop?
So if you don't have your own building, like you go to an event and you're able to sell there.
Okay.
Kind of like a food truck.
It is a lot like a food truck. Sometimes they actually have a trailer that they have their goods in, and they can just pull up to
Okay.
and
Learn something new every
space
day.
and
don't
sell
you?
stuff. Yeah.
Thanks for asking that.
Okay, any other questions for Grant? Thank you, Grant.
Thank you.
Next up, Shannon Dick, Director of Analytics.
Well, good morning. I have a bunch of copies
Just
for you,
in
so
time.
we can look it down here. Actually, I prefer you to close your eyes and just look at this, and don't look at this.
Okay. Be easy. How about the guys out in the audience?
Right.
What do they do?
They can look up here.
Okay.
I made the copies for you, though. So, good morning. Just going to do a quick update, really, on a couple of things. And I promise next month I'll talk longer. This is just a reminder of the Base Grant Awards, just so we have a memory of what happened there. And it's cutting it off, it's zoomed in weird. Well, I didn't. So, but it works out fine. Just reminding in Southwest Kansas that we received about 19% of the money that we'd expect to see for the population that we have in Southwest Kansas. There's just been some talk about this, so I just figured I'd put that there because not everybody's been on the board since we had this discussion with the base grant.
And just for clarification, sorry, Shannon, base grants were part of the federal funds that came down through the state when they got funds from the federal government for COVID relief. So this was a portion of that. We did have at least 4 applications that were submitted from Finney County. None of those were successful in receiving funding.
Yeah, and we did try to follow up with getting what those scores were for those individual, what was submitted and what were those scores, but we couldn't get any traction on getting those reports back to us.
So what do they do with the funds then if they don't use them?
They used them, they just did not use any in Southwest Kansas, or they used minimal funds in Southwest Kansas. What Shannon's referring to is some news that came out from the gentleman who was responsible for scoring and determining who would receive base grants. He has since passed away, so our condolences to his family, but he had made some references about some perhaps undue pressure from some political folks and some administration folks on where those funds would go. So Shannon's just, because it's likely that will come under some scrutiny now for the scoring, how those were scored. Shannon just wanted to remind you of that we had been paying close attention from the beginning, so.
South Central, it looks like got most of it.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, Northeast, South Central.
Yes.
Per population, got the most. Yep. Okay, so that was just a thing. The other thing that we've been working on and that we'll have more on next month, talking about valuation, value of mills, and so forth. This is a chart that's just a little bit modified from what you see before, but I think it's even more impactful when we start to stack all the parts of the valuation. If we look at the components, and this is going back to 2006. We look at the real estate, which is the orange section. So that's the value of the real estate, the change that we've seen. We see the personal property is that gray. The mineral leasehold is yellow. And then the state assessed utilities is blue. And you can see definitely at the beginning of our chart on the left hand how real estate was only making about half of our valuation. And really, when we're talking about the role of Finney County Economic Development, that's the part that we're charged with growing. We don't really have too much sway in the other ones. And then if you go look at how that's changed, especially if you look at how that orange part, the chart has changed, you definitely see that it's the majority, the lion's share now by 2023. And if you even see the rate of change, how fast that's going up, even if you look at the 2021, 22, 23, it's even ticked up how much that's changing as well there. So when we're talking about, and then so overall, besides some abatement that goes on, this is basically the top of that line is what the value of a mill is. So if you take, we're at about 500 million, actually we're past 600 million. If you go take roughly 1,000th off that, so 500,000, 600,000, that's about the value of a mill minus some abatement numbers. So doing really well, and especially recently, doing very well, and doing very, very well when we say what all the other negative factors are. So if we go look at the next page.
I would just mention on this, when Shannon last did a full analysis of the growth of the real property value, he applied some inflation numbers and just general growth, but about 64%, if you remember those numbers, 65% of the growth in real property value is directly attributable to the efforts of this organization. So, and we were able to show that very clearly with some comparisons to other communities as well as, inflation growth and so forth.
I don't have those numbers with you. The other thing we did besides just inflation, we looked at the rate of growth of other communities. So what's just the growth of being in Southwest Kansas and having an economic development group in general? We removed that part out and said, okay, what's the excess that we're getting special, et cetera. So I can go back and actually redo that. That would be a good, this one was kind of starting to talk about mills and everything, so it didn't come out that direction. But I might bring that up next month too, because that's a good number to look at. But if we look at the components evaluation and what they've done, when I say, how are we doing? I mean, we've had the highest valuation ever. So if we go look at the change, we've seen state assessed utilities since the beginning of that chart to now is down 27%. We see the mineral leasehold is down 74%. We see personal property is down 49%. So all the components besides real estate has been down since the beginning of that chart, since 2007, 2006. The only thing that's been up is real estate. So we're talking industrial, we're talking commercial, we're talking property, personal property, personal real estate. So we can see that overall, we've been able to overcome those down in oil and gas and things like that to a tune of up 21%. So we started that at $507 million valuation, now we're at $616.
This is for Finney County.
This is just for Finney County. Yep.
And we do always get asked, what about the other counties around us? And Shannon didn't have time to plug all these in, but I have the reports here. So Finney County's valuation is a little over $617 million. For comparison, Ford County is $383, and Seward County is $271. And I think for your purposes, what might be most important is commercial valuation. In Finney County, that valuation is a little over $176 million. In Seward County, that's $110 million. In Ford County, $110 million. So you can see where the growth has really taken place, has been in our commercial sector. And we've certainly grown in residential also, just not as quickly, obviously, as we have in large commercial projects.
Yeah, and then there's some really math and economy side of things, really exciting data that comes out when we're looking at this yesterday with TIFs and the relationship between the amount that we have in TIFs in our community.
Tax increment finance.
Right, and the growth of our community. So that's super exciting, but that's one of those things we just kind of ran out of time with all the meetings we had this last week that got this far in the presentation, and we'll do part 2 next month.
Be on the edge of your seats.
Right. So, pretty much, for those stuff, it's stuff that you've seen before, just kind of maybe in a different format.
I got a question now.
Yes.
This is just, probably, I shouldn't say this, but, okay, I love the amount of the real estate coming up, but is there a program in this county for the older age group people that are living on Social Security and their property value is going up? Mm-hmm. Is there anything that,
Yeah.
I'm asking you, County Commissioner.
Yeah.
Do you think that may be a possibility?
There were significant efforts, and I'm sure Representative Clifford would be happy to share. Okay. There were some efforts in the state legislature to get some property tax relief passed down to the residents. Those failed. So we'll see if they take that up again in the next session. But, there's, as far as what individuals can look at, there's the homestead tax exemption that gives some relief to older folks who own their homes. But in general, the answer to that is it's a much bigger part of our economic growth model, if you will, that folks who we've talked before about, because we don't have the proper housing options available for folks, we end up with seniors who are still in 4-bedroom brick ranch homes that they may not choose to live in. That's just where they are, because there's no senior housing for them to go to. There's no smaller, cottage type house that they could sell their home and move into to create some relief for themselves. So it is absolutely a challenge, and we recognize that, but there are two ways that taxes get determined, right? So either your valuation goes up and you're able to suppress somewhat those individual tax bills. Or you still have to provide services, so then the other option is that your mill levy has to go up based on the real estate you do have available to tax. So either way, we're a growing community and we have growing needs as a result of that. The inflation that's affected individuals and families has also affected government and taxing entities. So, you see everybody is aware of the issues that we have with some of the county buildings, for instance. They've kept their mill levy steady, but that doesn't allow for all of the improvements that you need to make and the maintenance that you need to do on public buildings. So unfortunately, it's kind of the perfect storm, if you will, and while we certainly appreciate that those folks are in a bind sometimes to get those taxes paid, we would remind them that the cost of services doesn't change. So when you have folks who need services, they're either going to have a higher mill rate or they're going to have a higher valuation to get us there.
And as you know, I mean, like the college, it's all property tax funded. And the insurance, well, oil and gas went down this year.
It has been down for several years.
Yeah, quite a bit this year, and our property insurance doubled. Wow. We went from 300,000 on 6 months, or a year, to 300,000 every 6 months.
Not even to
Plus
mention health insurance.
Plus health insurance went up 19%.
Yeah.
I have a question on oil and gas.
Yep.
I mean, the tax collected on that has really dropped in the last 17 years. Is that because there's less produced, or is it because of the price, or because of the way they're taxed, or is it a combination of the three?
Yes, yes, yes.
I was wondering, is the rate that they're taxed, is that to make the biggest difference? Or is it
Kansas values on severance, so yes.
Okay, thanks.
And we were fortunate in Finney County that, I mean, even though it was a pretty big part of our total valuation early on, just as it started collapsing, we started growing the real property value. So we were able to absorb most of that. Most of the counties around us were not so fortunate. When it first crashed, Grant County was like half of their valuation. Stevens County plummeted in their valuation. So their mill rates had to change in order to address that.
You mentioned senior housing. Do you have information on the occupancy rate or whatever of Sabine Hall? Is it Sabine? They still call it?
Yes, so Sabine Hall is no longer under any of their requirements to house certain income demographic or age demographic. Those came off, I'm going to say 5 or 6 years ago. But it did just get purchased by a new owner, and when they reached out for support on some state funds to put into that building, my understanding was that it was fully occupied. So yeah, I don't know beyond that.
Okay. Any other questions for Shannon? Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, new business.
You don't have any, sir. What?
Okay, how about old business?
Nope.
Man, we're blowing through this.
We are.
Upcoming events. Anybody know of any? Come on.
Somebody has something,
Somebody
right?
has something.
Steve's birthday is tomorrow.
And what will we be celebrating besides your birthday? You look into that yet?
I only looked that stuff up on board meeting.
We know it won't be cherry turnover day because that's today. So.
All right. Wow, okay. Hangover day. Does anybody have any other comments? If not, we'll look at future dates. You remember we talked about in November, December, we changed those dates, but Regular meetings in September 25th and October 23rd. If not, do we have a need for executive session?
We absolutely do, sir.
Okay. Well, we'll adjourn the,
Motion.
yeah,
I'll make a motion
Okay.
to adjourn
second?
to executive session for client confidentiality for
I would suggest 25 minutes.
25 minutes.
Okay.
I second that.
It's been moved and seconded to go into executive session for minimum 25 minutes.
Yes, so we would return to regular session at 8:30.
Okay. All right.
Aye.
Staff?
Do we need to vote?
Oh, yeah, we need to vote, right? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, gentlemen.